Hey, it's a Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdenial. The Black Knight Nation podcast is hosted by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a company that's run by Joe Ross. He's a former Army fullback, former Army assistant coach, and former Army officer. We thank Higher Echelon for sponsoring this podcast. This is our recap of Army's 42-17 win over Colgate. And Brendan, we are not late on this podcast because the Mariners are in 18 innings right now and they're on the brink of being eliminated. That's not the reason why we're late on this podcast. I got a new laptop and it's just not working with StreamYard, and the iPad's not working with StreamYard. So here we are on the iPhone, the third option here, and we appreciate you dropping by again to share your knowledge of Army football. And first off, guys, check out our website, Black Knight Nation. We had a ton of stories on there today. I was able to find out. Didn't go to the game today. Full disclosure, didn't make the game today. Had some family stuff going on, but I was able to find out that at least Tyler and Tyrell Robinson were out for today's game. Then I find out Isaiah Austin's out for today's game. Then Andre Carter's not playing. Javari Moore's not playing. So all that stuff was on BlackKnightNation.com a little bit before kickoff. We had the breakdowns of the Wake Forest game on there. Just a lot of I just threw the game story up there with Jamel Jones. Great to see Jamel Jones get to start today. Brendan, it's something that I predicted last week. Well, I suggested last week after the Wake Forest game. I'm like, give this guy a start, see what happens. Well, Tyler is banged up. Jamel Jones beats out Cade Ballard for the starting job this week. Finds out he's quarterback yesterday. Cade Ballard practices, has an injured finger going in, re-aggravates his injured finger. So he's really an emergency guy at best today. And so Jamel Jones has to run the show, and pretty much what you expected against Colgate, right?
Yeah, I mean that's really kind of the nice story of the day is Jamel Jones getting the start, and not only that, but running the offense pretty well and getting over 100 yards and 2 TDs for himself. Most of that came on his first carry, which was 75 yards for a touchdown. But nevertheless, when you see a guy like him who easily could have left the program for any number of reasons, but he stuck it out and gets a chance to shine today on national TV, against Colgate as it is. But some guys never even make it that far. So definitely happy for him for that.
Yeah, so it was his first start since October 10th, 2020, the COVID season. He started against the Citadel, so he's now 2-0 as a starter. And that first play really gets things going, right? And then that next drive by Army, Hayden Reed steps up and has 63 yards rushing and finishes it with a touchdown. Ijon Marshall scored, Raheem Murphy scored, Markel Johnson scored. You had, a bunch of guys get some playing time toward the end. It was kind of how this game was supposed to go. And now you look at, does a game like this give the team any kind of confidence or give it any team any momentum? Because you're 2-4 now, but both of your wins over are FCS teams, right? And Louisiana Monroe is coming to town on Saturday, and yes, they're going to be better than Colgate, but it should still be a team that Army should be on their home field next Saturday. So we'll see how the Black Knights respond, right?
Yeah, like multiple things can be true. It is certainly no question that Army has played a tough schedule up until today to start the season. But I also think that they've been largely not a great team the first half of the season. But the great thing for them is that pretty much anything that they would have signed up for as an opportunity is still ahead of them. 10 games is off the table, but that's always just kind of a stretch anyway. If they run the table, they'll win 9 and meet my season prediction. I definitely don't have the faith at this point that they'll make that happen, but I think they'll certainly win at least maybe 4 more games. And I think it was last week's Steve K from Crawdads mentioned that there's some rumors that maybe the NCAA would give them a waiver for the Villanova game since Tennessee took them off the schedule at such a late stage. I don't know if that's true. I would love it if it was, because that was certainly a situation that was not their fault. That was a situation that was thrust upon them. But we're still a long way, really, from
Yeah.
talking about bowl games. They got to win the next game, and frankly, from what I've seen from this team this season, the next game remains a challenge. So, yeah, let's see what they can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Monken was asked in his press conference about Air Force already, right? And you're asking
Oh
about
no.
Air Force already. And he's like, "We're 2-4. We're a desperate team. We got to win every game." He said basically he made like a baseball playoff reference. He said every game right now is like a playoff game for us. We got to win. We got to, basically they have to survive in advance, so to speak. And now you look at what's ahead of them, and I guess today shows that hey, so here we go. Here we go, Brendan. We have 2 wins over FCS teams, right? And we have 2 wins where Army did not complete a pass in both games. And
Mhm.
for the 7th time in Jeff Monken's tenure era, so to speak, Army wins a game without completing a pass. And they did try to throw it 3 times, and you can argue that the last pass they throw Bryson Daly to Miles Stewart probably should have been completed. Um,
Yeah, that was a tough one.
I mean, he had them open and they just couldn't connect on it. And so they did. It's not like they didn't try to pass. The game against Villanova, they only threw once, right? They threw they threw 3 times today, Brendan. 3 times.
Yeah, I think it was maybe twice against Villanova, but 0 for 2 nonetheless.
Yeah, I think that today you don't have Isaiah Austin out there, your top receiver. You know, Tyrell Robinson. We still don't know how long he's going to be out with with it looked like a knee injury. You don't really hear too much about like exactly are the injuries on the players, but it looks like it's either an ankle for Alston or a knee for Robinson. And Tyre, I'm not sure what. I think his ankle got rolled up pretty good. I think at the end of the Wake Forest game, right, Tyre? So you know Monken said in the press conference that this was a game that the guys who were banged up, if they didn't have to play, now they got an extra kind of week of rest, so to speak, and see if they can get them ready for Louisiana Monroe. And, the defense, 17 points to Colgate. I mean, I don't know. It looked like it was going to be a little bit of a shootout at first, Brendan, in this game.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't even know if it's really a frustration at this point. It just kind of is what it is. And I don't remember if I actually said this on the air, but I think it was after the UTSA game. I think I said to you, like, the defense is a problem until they prove that they're not. And to me, they're still a problem. Like
Yeah,
today, the fact that it was as competitive as it was, uh, in the first half, like this was a game they really just needed to put away at halftime, and ultimately they put it away probably in the third quarter. But I really wanted to see the backups out there for longer.
yeah,
But I mean, like the defense gave up 6 yards of carry to a not very good FCS team. Like that definitely does not inspire confidence going forward. I'm not really worried about the offense as a unit. Despite losing. Despite losing a guy like Tyrell Robinson, it's like, you know what? They still have Ijon Marshall out there,
yeah,
and other guys who've gotten reps. I mean, really, the most important thing today was that guys like Reed, Johnson, Marshall, Williams, that those guys finally got some solid playing time, because you are absolutely going to need them for the rest of the season and into the future beyond that. So, um, yeah,
yeah. And even a guy like Raheem Murphy, right? A guy who's he's a senior. He's been a starter and a guy who steps up kind of now as a starter for Tyrell Robinson, and he's a guy who scores a touchdown today. And on defense, I guess second half they shut out Colgate, and they had a few turnovers. Leo Lowen's having a great year right now. I mean, he's kind of going a little under the radar because the how many points Army's defense has given up, right? But today he has 2 takeaways, forces a fumble, picks up a ball that Nate Smith helped hit the quarterback's arm, and the ball finds its way right to Leo Lowen's hands, right? And so that's 2 turnovers there for Army today. You know, I mean, they are playing without two key guys, Andre Carter and Jabari Moore. So we'll see what happens. You hope that they got to find a way to just get some 3-and-outs, right? I mean, they have to get off they don't get off the field enough, it seems like, and even today, right? Colgate's having these like kind of extended drives, so to speak, and they're picking up like first downs when if Army's defense could just buckle down and get off the field, um, gets the offense back out. And the offense, 457 yards or so today rushing, did what it had to do. And I don't know, you just got to find a way, so to speak. I thought they played a little bit better up front, so maybe, but what's the sample size? What's the comparison, really? So I'm not too sure where you stand with that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like the defensive unit itself needs to find a way to play better and to just force some stops. Like no matter like no matter how you can find it. But also, oh my gosh, like, can we find a punter, please?
Oh, I was going to talk about that
Because that's been such an underrated, I think, part of the recent success of Army is having a guy who can actually change field position, and which helps, I mean it literally makes everybody's life easier, offense, defense, what have you. And I mean, from what I saw today, like Billy Belkey was in there, did not inspire confidence. I forget the name of his backup, but he got in late in the game and he shanked one as well. And it's just like, oof, like you got to find a way to get better going forward.
I was in and out a little bit, had some family stuff going on. I was watching the game, but I didn't know the second guy got in today. So that's on me. But when every other kicks off the side of your foot, there's a little bit of a problem. And then maybe you have to go to another guy, or maybe, I mean, how do you not punt if you're like got 4th and long in your own territory? But I don't know. I mean, I know Jeff Monken just in general doesn't like punting. But I mean, I talked at the beginning of the year how much they would miss Christian Anderson, right? And I think they miss Zach Harding just as much right now. Zach Harding he was an MVP of the 2020 Army Navy game, right?
Yeah.
How many times? I mean, he was like a guy. Just informed by our producer Ed Dillard that the Mariners lost 1-0 in 18. I did get the word from my family that they gave up a home run in the top of the 18th. That's a hard way to go down and end your season. But we're talking about Army here. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know Matt Rhodes is a punter that they have pretty good hopes for. He's a sophomore. He's also a really good pitcher in high school. He's more of the build of a Zach Harding. So
yeah, he was the other one who got in today, and he had one punt for 7 yards.
Oh, okay, man.
And Belkey was 1 for 24. So,
oh man, that's rough. 15.5 yards a punt. Is that true?
Yeah, like that might be a record the wrong way for Army for punting.
Has to be. Yeah. And there's no conditions today. It's beautiful out. It's not like you're punting against the wind or it's rain or anything like that. It's the conditions were ideal at Mikey Stadium. So, well, something to like put in, I guess, the quick thoughts. My quick thoughts coming up for the post coverage of this game. But man, I don't know really where else we can talk about. If you guys are watching right now and have any comments about the game, I saw one of our followers in there saying we were back on, and we got Bay back watching the podcast and the live stream here. I don't know. I just look at, you hope that next week, right, some of these guys that are out are going to come back and we'll see what it looks like. But I mean, if Tyre's hurt, I think that Jamel Jones still hurt. I think Jamel Jones goes again and see what Jamel Jones can bring, because Coach Monken said that he's pretty confident. Like, he knows the offense well, of course, being a senior. He can get the offense in and out of plays. The team likes to play around him. So, I mean, I thought after last week, give him a shot, and now I'm not. Quarterback competition probably starts on Tuesday when they go out to the practice field, right? But we'll see. I think they go with Jamel if Tyre's
no,
not.
I mean, there's a very good chance he could get a second start in a row. it's certainly within the realm of probability, if not possibility.
Yeah, I think there's a comfort there. I think his pitches were pretty good today, right? I didn't see really much problems with that. I think the reads were pretty good. The fullbacks got involved. I mean, I think they had to have over like 180 yards from their fullbacks today, somewhere in that neighborhood. Uh,
Yeah,
so
Daly had one pitch that was kind of iffy, but no fumbles on that today, at least.
yeah, yeah. I think you see with Bryson Daly a little bit a glimpse of the future, and some people were calling for him to even get a start today against Colgate. Just to see what he's got. And what he got 2 drives, maybe. I think he got 2 drives today, and you know,
Yeah,
I mean, we saw him against Villanova, right? And he had that run that was taken back by a penalty. And did he have another run today that was taken back by a holding penalty today again?
yeah, I think
He
you're right.
he busted out another big run. I think it was in the 30 yard and change range, and a holding penalty on a freshman wide receiver. I mean, it's gonna happen, I guess. But you see like some signs where okay, he's getting good to see him get snaps at least, right? Because now he's getting some game reps in now. We'll see how the season. You don't know how the season is going to unfold here. They've been through 3, 4 quarterbacks, 5, 6 quarterbacks in the season. So with Cade's finger, possibly Tyler's ankle, he's number 2 right now. He was number 2 today, and
Yeah,
we'll see with that. And you know what? It was good to see AJ Williams out there today because I heard a lot about him in the preseason and how they want to get him healthy. And I'm like, today I was watching the game. I'm like, 42. Did they move a linebacker to number 42? Who is this guy? And then I'm like, duh, it's AJ Williams. And you look at his build, right? He's a decent sized fullback and can run between the tackles. And, you know, maybe is a good like you look at what Markel Johnson brings, right? He's into that hole pretty fast and he runs with, like a low center of gravity, so to speak. And then you can get some power from Reed and Johnson and Reed and Williams, I'm sorry. And then you got Jarrell Dixon too. I mean, it's good to see these young fullbacks play that maybe they didn't have 100% healthy early in the season.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Williams got a couple carries and really flashed on one of them. Like went for 26 yards, and I think it was just right up the gut, and he like
Yeah.
trucked either a lineman or a linebacker who was right in front of him, and then just like scampered off for another 20 yards.
There he is, Bay Knight. 20, we were the fullback play. I thought the fullback play was good. I thought the
Yeah,
fullback play,
let me do a quick let me do some quick arithmetic while you're talking here.
yeah, sure. So they didn't have Jacoby Buchanan or Tyson Riley today. They both dressed but did not play. I guess it was going to be an emergency situation if they had to go in. But when you're 4 or 5 deep and you're dressing a good portion of the team for home games, you can dress 6 other fullbacks and let 4 play. I think they played four fullbacks in Hayden Reed, Markel Johnson, Jarrell Dixon, and AJ Williams. So I mean, there's really no need for Buchanan or Riley to play if you don't have to play them today. They didn't have to. And Reed had that big 45-yard run on the second drive to get them into scoring position. And he finished the second drive with a touchdown. Markel Johnson was darting through the defensive line, getting to that second level.
Yeah.
Jarrell Dixon was running hard. And how much you got for the
I,
fullbacks today?
so I assuming I was looking at the right names, I think they got about 250 yards from fullbacks today.
Get out of here, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably the best production of the season, so
Oh,
and,
for sure.
and it's from your 3 to 6 guys, so that and
Yeah.
yeah, you just like those guys are like, okay, when Buchanan and Riley are a little banged up earlier in the season, man, I mean, those guys just need experience. Maybe they just need game reps. Maybe they just need.
Yeah. That's like so something I've been thinking about lately is and this is kind of like a general truth. Like it's not just football, but like the hardest thing to do is not to have success, but to maintain success.
Yeah,
And when you're not yet successful, but you're on the precipice, like it's like you're young and you're fit and you're hungry. And then once you get to that mountain, it's so easy to just become basically fat. And I just feel like I kind of wish that the coaching staff would take more risks, because in that period when they were first building the Monken program, like I mean this is just one example, but like Andy Davidson never played a snap of offensive football in college. Played linebacker his freshman year, probably saw some field duty on special teams. They move him to fullback, and it's not like he comes in as a backup to get his first experience. No, like he gets the first carry in the first game against Temple,
Yeah.
who was an absolute boogeyman team for Army for 8 straight years. And I just feel like the coaches are so much more conservative now in
Mm.
giving guys chances. And I just like, I mean, like, we've seen like this offense, whether they pass it a little more or a little less, it works best when you have a number one guy at quarterback and you have a deep rotation of fullbacks. And they were trying to make it through the early part of the season with multiple quarterbacks and like two guys a fullback. And it's like, yeah, I know you're worried about fumbles, but ultimately when you have Buchanan fumbling, probably because he's banged up, it's like, what, like, I don't at that point I don't see at that point I don't
Yeah.
even see the risk in giving other guys a shot. So
Yeah.
that's just something I've been thinking about lately.
No, like Bay says, it's a good point, because sometimes you're right. It feels like they are a little conservative, and then sometimes they reach into the bag of tricks with a trick play, and those trick plays are just not working at all. Like the double
No.
reverse last week. What was that on like third down? I think you're in Wake Forest territory. I could be wrong, but you try a double reverse and poor. I think it was Brahim Murphy maybe or something, a 5 yard loss. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think there is some risk to be played in this offense. I think that um now we're seeing there are some capable guys there, right? You have some capable guys there. Now let's see them do it against FBS competition, right? Let's see them do it, take the next step and do it against FBS competition. And then you could say maybe this team is going to get better in the second half, Brendan, because now you have a lot of these younger guys that are getting reps. How about Donovan Platt today? Um, I think it was Donovan Platt that knocked away a pass play today, or Max Domenico too today had some breakups. You're
Yeah,
talking a
I know
fresh,
Max for sure had one.
yeah, you're talking like a freshman and a sophomore. Max got some playing time later in the game. Donovan's starting for his third game he's starting this 3 out of the 6 games. You had a freshman corner starting, right? So he's learning it's on the job training there. It's like seeing Elijah Riley back out there, right? So let's see. I mean, maybe these guys, maybe they're going to get better. You know what? I think that Peyton Hampton's playing a lot better than he has, right? Peyton Hampton played a really good game against Wake Forest that maybe didn't get noticed because of the score, but he made a couple plays that, hey, that's what your linebackers are supposed to do, be around the ball, right? They're supposed to be around the ball when the defensive line does their job. So Peyton Hampton's not a young guy, but he's a guy who's getting better. Lowen's been consistent. You know what you're going to get in Broughton. And maybe if you just keep on, I guess, switching out this defensive line and keeping them fresh, we'll see, because they're a little banged up too. And maybe this defense will come along, because I think that they got some young guys. Will Jeffcoat, sophomore guard, started his second game. He's getting some reps there. You're young with the Marshalls and Stewart in the slot backs. We talked about the fullbacks, and maybe this is a team that's gonna end up being a second half team. I know what Jamel Jones was saying. Coach Monken was preaching to them Sunday after Wake Forest. Here's your new season. We're going to start a new season. Let's go, guys. We're 0-0 right now. It's a little bit of a little bit of coach speak there, a little bit, but they're 1-0 in the second season of Army football in 2022, and they should be favored against Louisiana Monroe. I know Louisiana Monroe last week played a touchdown game against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina took its first loss against Old Dominion at home. Old Dominion was watching that game, beat them by like 20 points or more.
Yeah, it was bad.
And it's like Grayson McCall was At one point, he got sacked 8 times. It was still early in the fourth quarter. So, yeah. So I mean, you have the you can compare opponents like do that game, but you can do that game with a lot. Yeah, Van Davis checking and saying they need to stop the run. That would help, right, Brendan? That would be a big help.
Yeah.
So, and do
I
you overload the box to do that? You think, or
I don't know.
I
But
don't know. I mean,
but
that's my. Go
to your
ahead.
point though, I mean they were by and large a second half of the season team last year. I mean they had they went 0 for October last year, and
Yeah,
I certainly was pretty down on them heading into Air Force, and they managed to win that game. And Air Force was a very good team last year.
they were.
So I mean, as we always say, anything could happen. If they had come back to beat Georgia State in a very in kind of the Army way that I think a lot of us saw that could have happened, I would certainly be a lot more optimistic than I am now. But I mean, if they look good next Saturday against Louisiana Monroe, like I will certainly take encouragement from that, because Air Force is certainly up and down this season. They're not the same team as last year.
Yeah, you think Air Force would be pretty strong, and they've had their issues against some teams in that Mountain West, and you know, Brad Roberts is still going to be Brad Roberts. You're going to have to stop Brad Roberts if you're going to beat Air Force, right? So, I mean, they'll worry about that in a couple weeks after they get like a break after Louisiana Monroe. Got to pick your spots when overloading the box, says Bay Knight 20. Yeah, I mean, it's just a thought. It's just a random, like, I just tossed it out there. Do you want to bring Do you want to bring a safety up to play the run? I mean, just to account for the run. But then you're kind of daring some good quarterbacks in the past that they played, right, to throw the football. So I don't know if you wanted to play 9 in the box against Grayson McCall or Sam Hartman. Definitely not Sam Hartman. You don't want to do that because of their delayed mesh.
No, I mean, I certainly, I mean, I don't know, I don't know how comfortable I am with Army defensive backs playing more man to man, but I certainly wouldn't mind seeing them play a little more bump and run coverage against timing based offenses. I think even that could get them off the field a little more often than now. Hang on, Sal, you're muted.
Sorry, we're not coordinators, right? We're not college football coordinators. They've been doing this forever, and yeah, I'm an armchair offensive coordinator at best, and
Yeah.
I tend to focus on the offense. And you look at, hey, at least I got the Jamel Jones. Hey, played Jamel Jones today, right? That's about it. That's about all I get pretty much when I'm making these predictions and stuff, or just thinking out loud type of stuff. And that's all we try to do here on these recaps, to like break down what we saw, maybe think out loud. And we've both watched Army football for a really long time, especially in this Jeff Monken run. We watched it, and you just feel like there's potential out there. And now it's just like Jamel Jones said at the press conference today. It's like they know they're a good football team. Now they got to do it every Saturday, and you got to do it every Saturday against not just your Division I AA teams. You got to do it against the FBS teams. And even, I mean, I wrote it today, and I just feel like, man, because Coach Monken said on his radio show this week that this game is a crossroads for the program, right? And you're saying a game against Colgate is a crossroads at the program. Well, where are you really at then, right? Where is your program at when a Colgate game is a crossroads? But from their start, it is what it is. And you look at, so here they are again. Do they really should? It's Louisiana Monroe, right? I said this before. A game that they should win. A game that they should win at home. But now here we go. And we're at another fork in the road, Brendan. So where do they go from here? Basically, we have to ask. So
Yeah. Who knows?
yeah, and great point by Zen Davis. Jamel Jones did have a great game today. Man, I mean, that first run, I mean, when you go to first place 75 yards and you're getting an escort from your wide receiver into the end zone, and even Isaiah Marshall's running and shielding guys away. I mean, it was a great way to certainly start the game. And certainly he made an impact. And I tell you, I heard a lot of great things about Jamel Jones when he was at prep school and how really his knowledge of the offense and how he played there. And, sophomore year, he got his chance to start and he got his chance to play during the COVID year. And last year, pretty much, he's probably third string behind, Christian and Tyre, and then him and Cade are probably battling for the fourth string quarterback position. And Christian Anderson played very well for Army last year. So he waits his turn. And today he comes up with a really, really steady performance. Really seems like he's in control of the game most of the time. And, I we'll see what happens. I know how much they love Tyler, and they love his toughness and the way he runs the football and the way he operates the team and commands the team. So we'll see when he gets healthy where they go at quarterback. Right now, Jamel Jones is not a bad option, Brendan. I think Jamel Jones is perfectly fine.
No, I'd absolutely feel comfortable if he started next week.
Yep. So we will see what happens. We'll be back next week with Louisiana Monroe. I plan on attending that game at Mikey Stadium, and we'll have some pregame coverage and some postgame coverage. Special thanks today to Ed Diller for shooting some pregame video and also for shooting photos for the game. Check out the Black Knight Nation website. There's a photo gallery up with some great photos of Jamel Jones, Markel Johnson, a bunch of Ijon Marshall, a little Quinn Moretsky, a little love for the kicker, a little photo. Got to get the kickers in the photo galleries every once in a while, And so thanks to Ed Diller for that. And guys, check out our social medias, Black Knight Nation social medias on Instagram and Twitter. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give this video a like. That's how we get our see at the bottom here. We got the scroll going. What you can do, subscribe to the YouTube channel for our latest podcast. Steve Anderson is going to have one coming up with Jonathan Bowles. He was the punter on the 2010 Armed Forces Bowl championship team. Jonathan Bowles and his father Herman, I believe, are coming on this week to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I believe Wednesday night. You want to check that out. Hopefully, Louisiana Monroe's quarterback is not a jackrabbit that we can wear him down. I saw that their quarterback, I thought, had a pretty good game last week against Coastal Carolina. I could be wrong.
And they came within a touchdown of Southern Alabama today, or South Alabama rather. So I have a feeling he had another good one today.
So I'm not giving them enough credit, Brendan. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. So
I mean, Army's 2-4, they're 2-5. Sometimes desperation breeds a lot of competition.
Not exactly the college football game of the week next week, but we'll after some crazy games today with Tennessee and Alabama and the like, we'll see. But you never know. Sometimes those games do make up for interesting matchups and do make for some, something you've never seen in college football before. So we'll see if that happens next week at Mikey Stadium. Hey, Brendan, thanks a lot for jumping on. Again, we had some like a little device issues, and appreciate your patience and breaking down this 42-17 win for Army over Colgate. Black Knights are 2-4. Louisiana Monroe next Saturday at Mikey Stadium. Guys, we really appreciate it, and we'll be back. Look for Wednesday a podcast with Herman Bowles and Jonathan Bowles, and we'll be back here next Saturday recapping Army Louisiana Monroe. Have a good night.
Beat 'em.